What's good, everyone, and welcome back to Kaya's Commentary. And if you're new here, welcome to Kaya's Commentary. This is a podcast that offers commentary on pop culture topics, real world issues, anything in between, and maybe even some advice every now and then. Before we get down to it, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kaya R. Pennington, and you can follow Kaya's Commentary on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kaya's Commentary. Also, be sure to hit the follow/subscribe button and the bell so you get notified when new videos drop. With that, let's kick it into our first segment, What Drives Me, where I give my commentary on something that drives me. So, what drives me? The lack of creativity and the appreciation for creativity in Hollywood. Who cares, whatever, because I've continuously talked about this over the course of my podcast. So, The Acolyte, and I have talked about The Acolyte several times on TikTok videos and on here, how I wasn't really a Star Wars fan, but the ship of Osha and Chimera drew me in, how it shows the importance of ships and fandoms and all that good stuff. But it has been canceled after one season and but a month or two after its season finale. Now, again, like I've repeatedly said when talking about The Acolyte, I'm not a Star Wars fan. I saw the original, I rooted for Hans and Layla, but it wasn't something that really I could watch it, I guess, but it's not something that I just like The Hunger Games or Divergent where I just have a marathon occasionally. It doesn't. It doesn't. So I don't know how they operate or how the Acolyte story fits into the universe. But I will also say, I will also say that the show was billed as like a limited series. But I did hear that they were actually creating a writer's room for a season 2 back in like February or so. But I'm not sure. But I don't want to talk about how the show fit into the universe. I want to talk about the cinemafying, if you will, of TV. If you haven't noticed, nothing can stay on TV these days. The Acolyte, First Kill, My Lady Jane, Rap Shit, Rise of the Pink Ladies, A League of Their Own, Swagger, just to name a few. And these in particular mostly had good viewer ratings. And yet, they're gone now, and some forever wiped away because they've wiped it away from their streaming and they don't have DVDs, no physical copies, which is why it's so important that we prioritize physical copies. I cannot stress enough, let DVDs go the route of VHS tapes and cassette tapes and even some CDs. Buy CDs, buy albums, buy DVDs. Do not let physical versions of media disappear because they will so quickly wipe it away from their streaming service after you've already paid your subscription bill for the month and then paid an additional to rent or buy that on the streaming service that you already paid for. They will quickly wipe it away. Get physical copies. But yeah, they'll just wipe it away. And why is that? Why is that nothing can stay on TV? Because lately, if a show isn't just 1,000% in good ratings, it's not justifiable to pour more money into it. But, and here is the thing to like really remember and listen to, it's the important thing to know. Shows are not, I cannot stress enough, shows are not summer blockbusters. They are not trying to go for the #1 spot at the box office, and it is perfectly okay for them to take their time in telling a story, as TV shows are supposed to do. If only y'all would let them. Now, don't get me wrong, canceling popular shows is nothing new or specific to streaming. One of my most hated canceled TV shows is the CW's The Tomorrow People, which was successful, but just not as successful as they wanted it to be. Literally, that's the official reason. And it pisses me off so bad to this day because what a cliffhanger. I was eager to see more of Steven and Kara, John and Astrid, John with his memory wiped and Astrid still looking for him. Like, it's just, what a cliffhanger. Oh my god. And then, still Star-Crossed. You got no promotional work, but you poured all this money into it and didn't promote it. And we all know it could have been the Bridgerton before Bridgerton. I stand on that. Anyway, I feel like it is worse with streaming these days because like so many shows that took 2 or 3 seasons to find their footing back in the day certainly would get canceled now under y'all ways of doing anything. Like, you could not have a less than lackluster premiere or it was just gone. It was just gone. And it's so frustrating that y'all expect people to get attached to a show with 6 episodes that last 30 to 40 minutes that drop every 6 years. Be so serious. And then jam so much information into these episodes, information that very much would benefit from being stretched out, and then get the scissors ready when people rightfully note that, hey, this is good, but it's a lot of like unexplored information and you very much could explore it, and you don't. You just get the scissors and cut it. Another one lost. Like no one is saying that the show is horrible except for the buttholes who are review bombing, and that is not your audience and people you should listen to because, again, that's not your audience. I mean, they couldn't even grasp for the Acolyte, they couldn't even grasp that it was more complex than just they're making the Jedi the bad guys. Clearly, and I cannot stress this enough, that is not your audience and certainly not quote unquote critiques that should be listened to. Clearly. When you have a very good chunk of others telling you, we love your show, keep it, why are you not listening to them? To your actual audience? Why is their plea and viewership and promoting of your show not justification to keep it going? Again, TV shows are not movies, and the benefit of serialized mediums is that you can draw out the content. Like you can take your time and not have to rush. Okay, I have so much information and so much that I want to tell about this character, but we have to shove it all in this. Like, you don't have to do that with serialized TV shows. Like, that's the beauty of it. And all these sequels and prequels and reboots that y'all be doing for these different movies, but somehow cannot fathom drawing out content for a show. It does not make sense. Why? And miss me with the excuse of money. Oh, it costs too much to make, because we all know y'all stingy subs got it. We just point blank period. We know you have it. And the way that y'all be like renewing crap shows just also tells me that it's not about money or quote unquote low views for y'all. Now, when I did my disposable black girlfriend video, I mentioned how most of these shows do this fake out of casting BIPOC or LGBTQ plus characters and actors, and then not protecting the actor and or the character. And that's really what it boils down to here, I feel. Y'all don't care about getting views from the open-minded demographic. You don't. You don't care about getting those viewerships from people who want to actually see more diverse characters and storylines. You want to cater to the stupid-minded. Okay. But like, cut it with this fake out of like, oh, we care about diversity. You don't. Because honestly, what is the freaking point? What is the freaking point of creating this and getting people hooked and then cutting the projects for any silly little reason? Seriously, what is the point? As someone who does want to get into this business, because I still very much have a passion for creating and acting, my God, I implore y'all to care more about the project, the actors, and the story more than the quote-unquote critiques of those that aren't even your audience. Because those aren't even real critiques. They're not your audience, therefore they're not real critiques most times. By producing more episodes, you open yourself up to having you keep from having to shove so much information into shortened seasons, meaning that you can tell a better, more complete story. And honestly, if you're getting review bombed, I'm sorry, you can still justify continuing on, because one, again, review bombs just they are not real reviews. And honestly, if you're getting that attention, it really should tell you that you're doing something right. You're pissing off those people, which means more than likely they're the stupid minded and you're pissing them off. You're doing something good. You're doing something good. That is not to say that you can't have real criticism, but it's not coming from them. It's not coming from them. So it should tell you that you're doing something right. And two, you can still, you're setting up storylines that leave a lot to be desired. So you can say, well, that was just the beginning. Now let's show you what else that we have. And again, miss me with the expense of producing more episodes. It just costs so much to produce more episodes. Like, you know that you can, point blank, period. You know that you can. Again, I say this as someone who is very much still eager to get here, but y'all have got to do better with y'all storytelling. Like, stop trying to make TV shows into box office blockbusters and then getting mad when they don't, and canceling them when they don't meet your unrealistic standards. Like, let the story be told over the course of longer episodes. If you don't want to commit to 20 episodes, 20, I will confidently say I live by this, that 13 every year I feel can still tell a really great story. Like, if you just feel like you cannot commit to 20 episodes a year, 13, I will live by this. Every year can still tell a really great story. But y'all are killing the crap with the 6 to 8, 35 to 40 minute, every 7-year episode. Let the story be told. My God, let it take its time and be told and flesh out a well-compelled story. It is possible. It's possible with a lot of the content that y'all are already setting up, that y'all are shoving 6 to 8 episodes. You can make that 13. Honestly, dare I say you can make it 20, but sure, 13 at the minimum. Like, let the story be told. My God, it's not hard. With that, quick little what drives me. With that, let's kick it into our second segment. Let's go to the movies, where I give my commentary on a movie I've seen. Today's film, the 2019 film Ready or Not. So this is about a bride. She gets married into a very rich family, and it quickly takes a deadly turn as a game of hide and seek becomes way more sinister than she thought it ever could. Let's get into it. So the film starts with 2 children, a young Alex and Daniel, and they're trying to hide. So Daniel hides Alex in the closet before he comes face to face with a desperate Charles, who is the groom, and he's been running from somebody, it seems. He's running from killers, and he's pleading with Daniel, hey, you need to help me, please help me, hide me. Is there somewhere I can hide? Daniel, in fact, does not help Charles, and he yells out to the other members that here's where Charles is, and the members come in with a desperate bride, and she's crying and she hates it, but the members, they take an arrow to Charles and they're dragging him off. And the bride, although she hates it, seems to be a part of the clan of killers as they take Charles away. 30 years later, and Alex is now getting married to Grace. So we see Grace memorizing her vows when Alex comes in, and he's asking her if she's ready for the ceremony. And she's like, yeah, of course, I'm so ready to be a part of your uber rich family, even though, like, I did not come from that, and your dad thinks that I am a gold digger, and your brother, your alcoholic brother, keeps flirting with me. I'm totally ready. Said alcoholic brother, Daniel, comes in to retrieve the happy couple because they have to do their wedding at the family house, at Alex's family house. That's just tradition. So he comes in and he's asking them, hey, you ready to do this? He asks Grace, he's like, are you sure you want to be a part of this family? You don't really belong in this family with us. And I mean that as a compliment. See, that would have set off bells in my head, because why would you say that? Even if you mean it as a compliment, quote unquote, why would you say that? Grace pays it no mind. She just thinks because, they're uber rich, and the rich are so, like, obviously different from the lower middle class. And so that's where her head is. And she's like, yeah, of course, I'm totally ready. And Daniel's like, okay, let's go. And so he kind of walks out, but before Alex and Grace can follow him, Alex stops Grace and is like, again, are you sure you're ready? Like, we don't have to do this. We don't have to do this. You don't have to be a part of the craziness that is the Ladomas family. And Grace is like, no, I want a family. I want to be a part of you. I love you. I'm ready. Let's go get married. So before they get married, they're taking pictures, and we see the dad is talking crap. He just doesn't seem to like Grace. We also see that certain family members, I believe it's one of Alex's aunts, they're looming at Grace and glaring at her, and Daniel's like, don't pay it any mind. They're just, trying to see if you could really be one of us. Again, this phrase of be one of us would have me like, maybe it's a cultural thing. I'm very much pro date who you want, go where you are loved. But if I ended up dating a white person down the line, and these phrases kept coming up, warning bells. Warning bells. Kind of like when you're reading or you're watching a movie or something, and the character Beta, the love interest from any gender, is like, you're just so much better than me and I'm not worthy of you. Believe them. If they tell you that, believe them. Believe them and leave. So that is where my mind would be. Not to Grace. So Daniel's like, they're just trying to see if you could be one of us. They're trying to see if you're a gold digger who's after our money. Like my wife. So I guess their dad didn't like Daniel's. I think her name is Charity. I guess they didn't like Charity either. But as the rest of the family continues to take photos, Grace is she's now on a ledge and she's looking down at them, and the mom comes to talk to Grace and she comforts her. She really likes Grace. It's very clear, and she's telling Grace not to worry about if her blood isn't quote unquote blue enough, because they said the same thing about me. All that matters is what Alex thinks, and it's very clear what he thinks. So that comforts her, and the happy couple gets married. As I said, they have to do this at Alex's family house. It's just tradition. So they get married there, night falls, and they end up in a bedroom and they're making out. But Alex is like, hey, no, there's something I have to tell you. There's this family tradition that, we have to play a game. All the new additions to the family have to play a game. Don't know the game until the card is pulled. So it could be anything, chess, checkers, any cards game. But, you don't have to win the game, but to officially be a part of the family, you have to play. So they got their money off creating games, the gaming dynasty, so it's just tradition. So Grace is like, okay, well, just buy me 10 minutes while I go on and put my game face on. So go down there. So down in the music room, the family gathers, including the very eccentric, coked up sis. So she wasn't at the wedding, and they've been calling her, and we finally see her at night. And she's like, oh my God, you're Grace. I can't wait. I'm so happy that you're here. I can't, I've totally stalked you on Instagram. I'm so glad you're here. And, it's going to be awesome. And so she has stuff on her nose. And Grace is like, oh, yeah, that's, yeah. So she's eccentric. While talking to the mom again, we learn that Grace literally wants a family. She's brought up in foster homes. So, again, the mom is very welcoming to her. Like, I'm so happy you're part of our family. We also see the sisters and her husband's kids. I think her name is Emily. And their kids are running through the house with masks on. Now, at the beginning of the film, they were wearing masks, the killers. So that should tell us, the audience, something. We're wearing these strange masks. And now their kids are running through the hallways with these masks on, yelling, kill, kill. Again, that would set alarm bells off in my head. Not in Grace's. Maybe she just didn't see. I don't know. Maybe she just didn't see it. So it's 11:55, and so they start the game at dawn, I believe, or they started at dawn. So we get to the family game room now, and we find out the backstory there. So in the family game room, before we get to the backstory, they have animals all on the wall, animals and guns and stuff. Again, maybe it's a cultural thing. I would be uncomfortable. I don't believe in hunting for sport. There's something about that that's just so rooted in white supremacy, and I said what I said. But that would set alarm bells off in my head. That would scream something to me. Grace does seem to take it all in. She's like, wow, that's a lot. But it doesn't click in her head. Anywho, so great-grandfather had a printing shop that turned into a sporting goods and game shop. Like I said, they're rich with owning games, a dynasty built on games. So they have a benefactor, LaBelle, and he and their great-grandfather became friends of sorts. And so LaBelle proposed a deal to the great-grandfather. He had this strange little box, and if the great-grandfather could figure out how the box worked, LaBelle would be the benefactor to any business deal that they could come up with. So great-grandfather spent like a year trying to figure it out, but he did. And now the Ladomas plays the game via the box. So you put an empty card into the box, and then you take the card out from the other side, and the box will tell you what game to play. So Grace pulls the card and pulls the game of hide and seek. Now she laughs it off, but the family gets deadly serious. So Alex is trying to get Grace to go upstairs, but she's intent on playing the game. She's like, nah, we're gonna do this, totally. She wouldn't listen. So the family says, hey, we're gonna count to 100 and you can hide anywhere in the house and don't worry about the cameras, we'll turn them off. And so Grace is like, do I have to win the game? Nah, the dad is like, no, you don't have to win. And Grace is like, hypothetically, what could I do to win? And the dad is like, well, you could stay hidden until dawn. And Grace is like, I'm not gonna do that. And the dad laughs it off with her. And he's like, yeah, just get caught and the game will be over. So the butler puts on this toony record that plays a hide and seek tune. And as Grace goes to hide, the family arms themselves with deadly weapons. The mom seems upset. She liked Grace, and Daniel also isn't thrilled about it. He's really just indifferent about the whole thing, but an indifference that favors Grace, if you will. And so while they're arming themselves, the mom goes to Alex and advises him to stay in the family room or the game room, whichever one they were in. And then they kind of lock him in and tell Daniel's wife, Charity, to keep a watch over Alex. So Grace hides in a dumbwaiter as the record ends and the family begins their hunt. Now, Alex has told Grace earlier that there are servants' quarters that run throughout the whole house, and so he's definitely not with his wife getting hunted down, and so he uses the servants' quarters to go find Grace. We also learn that the game has only been played once since the mom joined the family, which was like 30 years ago with the taking out of Charles. So it's a rare card. Grace truly had the misfortune of pulling this card. So Grace, tired of waiting and still thinking that it is a silly game, leaves the dumbwaiter and rips her dress in the process. But sis, you finna have so much more to worry about than a rip in your dress. So she almost gets caught by one of the servants. There's like 3 other servants in there, 4 counting the butler. And so she almost gets caught by one of the servants, but Alex finds her and they hide behind the bed. And it is here that Grace realized it is not a game. When Emily, I don't know if I can say this because I'm trying to censor myself, she pewed the head of the servant off. Like, she's not very good at it. And so the rest of the family members come in, and this is where we find out, the dad's like, well, why'd you aim for her head, babe? We have to maim her, not take her out just yet. They can't kill Grace just yet. But also Daniel was like, okay, well, somebody died tonight, so does that count? And I was like, no, it must be the new addition, the groom or the bride. So as they take away the servant's body and they're beginning to clean up, Grace is kind of in shock, and Alex takes her through the servants' quarters, and he explains that the family believes, due to the deal with LaBelle, who we can consider this devil-like figure, they have to kill her before sunrise or the family will die. You have to play the game. You can't not play. If you for some reason don't play, you're all gone by morning in a house fire or in some other strange event. It just happens. You have to play. But Alex is like, I'm going to get you out. Now Grace is reasonably, very understandably upset with Alex that he let her go through with all of this naturally, because like you knew when you let me anyway. Again, he tells her, if you don't play, you have to, like, it's something you'll be taken out. Members who haven't played the game, died the following morning. And he was like, well, you wanted to get married. And she's like, hold on now, don't put this on me. And he did too. He didn't mean it like that. He did too. But he was like, I didn't want you to leave. It's low-key, so very selfish actually of him. He's like, I didn't want you to leave. So they had to play by the rules, and even if she didn't know, but he tells her he didn't want her to leave, and like he will get her out. He's gonna go unlock the doors. He's gonna try to figure out how to unlock the doors. So he's like, put yourself together. You're gonna go down to the servants' kitchen, and you're gonna wait while I unlock the doors, and then you're gonna get out of here. I promise. Like, pull yourself together. We got this. So Grace has one more moment of shock before she slightly pulls herself together. She rips her train and dress at the bottom, which, what kind of fabric? That would have me mad that my wedding dress was ripped that easily, but I don't know nothing about wedding dresses. Maybe they are that fragile. I don't know, but here, it benefits her. Now she's taken off her heels and she has on sneakers, and so she's heading towards the servants' quarter with the door that will be unlocked by Alex. Unfortunately, when she gets to the end of the servants' trail, there are 2 doors. And she just happens to pick the door that Daniel, the aunt, and the dad were walking by. And so now she has to run. Now, scared and drugged up, Emily also sees her and shoots but misses. And that is what allows her to get away. We also have a little comedic moment of Emily like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's very funny because the dad's like, aim for the center of gravity. Great, Emily, you just stop shooting. So Grace makes it to a study and tries to break out, but she's caught by Daniel. He doesn't want to take her out, and so he gives her a 10-second slowly counted head start. He also apologizes to her. He's like, yeah, the rich really are different. I'm sorry this happened to you. Now you gotta go. So Charity finds him first after he says, hey, she's in the study. And so she's like, you let her get away? And Daniel mentions how Charity was ecstatic to join the family when he told her. He's like, Alex may have been wrong in not telling Grace, but remember what happened when I told you? Maybe we are weird because the way you were eager to join this family. And Charity's like, I've come from nothing and I would rather die than go broke. And Daniel was like, from your mouth. So the dad and the aunt comes next, and Emily and her husband and the mom. And so we see another servant coming in, and she's like, "Hey, I just saw Grace." Which, why are you snitching? The servants aren't a part of the family, so y'all. I'm assuming if y'all deaths don't count, I don't know. They're not part of the family. I don't think that they would, like, in this deal, die too. So I don't know why. Come in here, call yourself snitching, like, ill. Um, but Emily's husband traded weapons with her, a crossbow, and so when the servant comes in to snitch, Emily, she's like, she's still high, and so she shoots her with a crossbow in the head. Look at that karma. Look at that karma. So Charity is like, okay, well, does that count? And again, it's like, no, the help doesn't count. It has to be, and then so the servant is just like choking on her own blood, and it aggravates the aunt that she can't get through her sentence, so she goes to hack her body after she dies. It's kind of comedic, but it's also like, wow, gory. So they're all in the study now, and mom suggests to use the camera, but the aunt doesn't want to, and dad's like, well, no, technology advances, and so we're gonna use them. But again, the aunt is very adamant about like traditions, and it's like, okay, well, we'll use the same old time weapons that they used back in the day, but we're gonna use the cameras. So Grace, she goes back to the game room, and she arms herself with great granddad's gun that was on the wall. And his ammo. She catches a glimpse of herself in the mirror, and is very clearly shocked by how she looks. And it's just a moment that's like, what happened tonight? Alex makes it to the control room, but he has trouble working it out. But he does manage to get the door open. But Grace, she makes it to the kitchen. Unfortunately, she is caught by the butler. But she also is able to get the ammo into the gun. I don't know why she didn't. It's just certain things that Grace didn't do that was like made sense to do. Like, one, I would have asked. It's just certain things that she didn't do. Like, why would you not put the ammo and the gun in the game room? She waited till she was in the kitchen, and the butler came into the kitchen, and so she's hiding behind the island, and she's like trying to arm the gun as quietly as she can, but like you have clicks that are loud. When she came into the kitchen, she had not a split, she had like a minute or so, and like there are clearly knives on the counter, and she didn't grab that. She just missed opportunities. I'm gonna come back to that. So Alex gets the door open, but Grace is caught by the guard in the kitchen, the butler in the kitchen, and we find out the ammo that she has for the gun is display only. So he goes to grab the gun, but she crashes his head with like a kettle that he had put on the stove, so obviously hot, and it burns him. He goes to grab a knife. She should have done that. But he can't get to her. And part of the reason that he didn't get to her on time, that he didn't like immediately get to her when he gets in the kitchen, is because his loudly singing of classical music, which is also supposed to be comical, and very clearly they're different from us. Anywho, Alex crashes the system as the dad and Daniel bang on the door. Alex and the dad have a confrontation where Alex begins to strangle the dad. He's like, that's my wife, you leave her alone. And he very clearly has very strong loyalty to Grace, right? So Daniel is one that talks him down, leading the dad to knock him out. Grace, on her side, she hears voices and goes back to hide in the dumbwaiter, where she finds the last servant, who she, for some reason, because the servant is very confused, she's like, I don't even work here, dude just like the way I look, so that's why I got hired, I don't know what's going on. And Grace is like, oh, well, you don't have a reason to be scared, they're looking for me, not you. She told that servant that, leading the servant to yell, hey, she's here, but she accidentally pushes the control buttons that operate the dumbwaiter and crushes herself. Look at that karma. But also, why would you tell her that? Back to Alex, the dad ties him up, and is informed by the butler that the security system is beyond repair, and the last servant is dead, the doors remain open, the windows remain unlocked. So, Aunt speaks in Alex's defense, and Grace overhears. She speaks up for Alex and that they are similar, that his place is at the head of the family, and that, he's running from it, but he'll find his way back to the family. We also learn that she was the bride at the beginning of the film, which is why she's so bitter. She feels that she let down LaBelle and wants to atone for that with Grace's death. We also find out that Alex claimed to have saw LaBelle, so that's just more like, oh, his fate truly is with the family. We also see that Alex overhears all this after the dad and the aunt walk off, and his face is one of consideration, perhaps. On Grace's side, she's outside now, so she was on the ledge hearing all this, and she jumps from the roof to get away, where she's assaulted with the normalcy of the day before, like the morning when they actually had their wedding, before continuing on. So she makes it to the barn, where little George, Georgie, one of Emily's sons, finds her, and she sees him first, and she's like, George, okay, you have to help me. She makes the same mistake that Charles does, because George has the gun that his mom had. He holds it up on her, so she holds her hands up, and he shoots her in that hand, um, leading her to punch him and knock him out. But the shot plus the scare of a goat leads her to falling down a basement like of sorts, where they discard the bodies of their sacrifice, human and animals alike. So there's a terrible smell down there. Plus the fall itself, it's just body pain, body pain. Fortunately, there's a ladder to climb back up on, which she does, one-handed. Unfortunately, it breaks at the end and she has to pull herself back up by slamming her already injured hand on a nail and then pulling it off said nail once she's finally pulled herself up. But she gets out and she wraps her hand with the other torn part of her dress and continues on. So she's made it back outside to the yard, and Charity sees her running in the open, but she's a poor shot with the out-of-date weapon she has, so she goes to tell the butler and the others, leading the butler to chase Grace in a car. Grace has made it to the fence of the property, and she manages to pull a bar loose and squeezes through the hole, even as it scrapes and cuts deep into her shoulder. But she gets out just as a passing car pulls up, only stopping to tell her to get out of the road before continuing on, which leads Grace to just like losing it. What is wrong with you freaking rich people? And she's just going off and like just letting loose yells, which on one hand it's like, girl, shut up, they go hear you, but on the other hand it's like, of course, like so much has happened, it's just like you have to yell in frustration to get it out. So Grace sees the cars and she runs into the tree lines to kind of hide, and the butler's off to hunt her. So Dad and Daniel get into it because Daniel isn't taking it seriously. And the dad tells the family of another part of the family who died in what we thought was a house fire, but apparently that isn't the truth. And now Daniel and Emily are put on body disposal. We also see that Emily's husband, he's not taking it seriously either. Like, he wants to like cut out. He's talking to Charity. He's like, at what point, we're just the add-ons in this family. At what point do we like cut and run, right? But no one takes him seriously. No one even really likes him in the family. So Alex begins on working on getting free. They handcuffed him to a rail, so he's like sawing through the bedpost of that rail. Daniel and Emily, as they dispose of the bodies in the basement of the barn. Daniel's like, maybe we should all die, and Emily's like, I don't deserve to die, my kids don't. And then they find Georgie, who tells them what happened, and she's like, oh, I'm so proud of you for doing that. And Daniel's look as Emily is smiling at her young child for hunting a human being is like, nah, yeah, we all deserve to die. Like, indifference, but like moving in favor of Grace's favor. So Grace, she's made it back to an open space where the butler chases her with the car. He gets out and they scuffle, with her getting the better of the butler and strangling him and then leaving in the car. That is a missed opportunity as well. I'm gonna come back to it. She calls for help using the star safe system that's in the car. And so she's like, Tristan, hey, please call the cops. Someone's trying to, kill me. He's like, oh yeah, right away. Uh-oh, the system's having problems. We just, let me reboot this. She's like, Tristan, call the cops. Tristan, call the cops. But the car, they quickly reported it stolen. So Justin's like, I have to shut it down. She's like, no, Justin, please don't shut it down. Don't shut it down. And he's like, just stay with the car. The cops are on the way. Is there anything I can do for you? Anything else I can do for you? She's like, you know what? Yeah, Justin. Yeah, you can go screw yourself, Justin. She didn't say that, but if you see gaming. And it's just a little comedic thing. But the butler quickly finds her and knocks her out with a trank. A little goof because he breaks the window, and then when he's driving her back to the house, the window is in fact not broken, I believe. So, little technical goof, just FYI. But he knocks her out with a trank, ties her up in the back, and then he calls the family to let them know that they're back on their way. While out, Grace has a dream that Alex is driving and they're getting away. But she looks at him and then looks back at the road and then looks back at him, and he has on one of those masks at the beginning of the film. Subliminal messaging? You decide. And then she really wakes up. And so the butler is on the phone. He's with the family, but he's also loudly again singing classical music, allowing so he doesn't hear the family when the family's like, hey, look behind you, look behind you. So Grace wakes up and kicks the butler in the face. The car crashes and she gets out until Daniel finds her, and he gives her a speech about, hey, you know, I like you, I don't want to do this, but I can't let my whole family die for you. And it's just something off because this whole film, Daniel has like not, he's been indifferent in favor of Grace. So why would he all of a sudden be like, it's us or you and I choose us? So he knocks her out after she pleads with him. Again, another mistake. And the father's out there too, and maybe that's why Daniel gave her that speech, because again, for the most part, he didn't really want anything to do with it. But also, how did the dad get out there that fast? Where was she? This is also something that pissed me off. We're gonna come back to that when I talk about my actual issues with the film. But like, how did the dad get out there so fast? Like, they were just in the study. Daniel was one thing because he wasn't on that call, but the dad was. Where was she? Was she back on the property? Like, anywho. I believe also that the butler, he's no more after this car crash. I don't think we see him for the rest of the film. So Alex is still trying to get free when the mom comes in and tells him that Grace has been caught. And, you know, he tells the mom that, you know, if Grace dies, I will take you out. He clearly loves Grace. He clearly has a loyalty to her. Right? Anywho, the mom again says, you know, she doesn't want to do it. She likes Grace, but the family comes first. And she also tells Alex to stop acting like he doesn't believe in the LaBelle myth, because if he actually didn't believe in it, he wouldn't have brought Grace there in the first place. Fair point. Fair point. We get a little backstory on why Alex left. He didn't think that what they were doing was all the animal sacrifices and all that was normal, but it felt normal because of the family. The family made it feel normal, and that scared him. But when he met Grace, you know, Grace brings out such a good in him. And the mom brings up again that Alex is a part of the family and should stop running from it. This theme that you were meant to be here. Come back to that. So the family prepares for the ritual. Grace is tied up on a table with ruins in it. The family drinks from the sacred cup and is about to dagger Grace when they all start throwing up blood. So Daniel poisoned the cup and unties Grace, and he lets her go. And he's like, just at this point, Alex also manages to get free. So Daniel and Grace are running when Charity finds Daniel, and she's upset that Daniel doesn't seem to care if she lives or dies. And so this time, she's been missing the whole time. She does not miss when she shoots at Daniel, though she does look surprised that she gets him in the neck, like just like, pow, oh, what did I do? Because of her surprise at that, it leads her to missing when she goes for Grace, or rather Grace goes for her. Like, Grace sees Daniel's falls, and to her credit, she does not hesitate at all. At this point, she's just like, it is what it is, let's go. So Daniel falls, and Grace immediately goes to grab the gun from Charity. She gets it, and she goes to take her out, but there are no more bullets in there, but that still does not stop her from knocking Charity upside the head with it. Kudos. So she thanks Daniel as he's dying, and he's telling her to go. He's like, go, get out of here. So Dad catches up with Grace next, but she knocks him out with a fire-lit lantern and then throws it on the ground, lighting the house on fire. Family fires. Alex, he's free now. He finds Daniel, and he witnesses Daniel dying. Mom catches Grace next, and they scuffle. Mom yells about how, you know, she liked Grace, but, you know, she was never really ready for a family, how she doesn't deserve a family, how she can never be a part of their family. Grace gives the upper hand, and bludgeons Mom with the game box and tells her that she doesn't want to be a part of her family. So Mom is now gone. Alex finds Grace standing over his mom. He goes to approach Grace, but she flinches and she apologizes for flinching. And Alex also apologizes, I guess, for bringing her here. But Alex also realizes that Grace is scared of him and that she may not stay with him after all of this. And maybe it's that added in with his mom's body or Daniel's body. Like, I don't know what it is. I want to remember to come back to that. He officially catches Grace to her surprise. So the remaining family literally hold her down as Alex stands at the head, ready to dagger her. And they're like, they do this Latin chant or whatever, and it's like, "Hail Satan!" And it's just, I laughed because it's like, I don't know, this part is just out there. I want to say this part of the comedic part of the movie. So at the last minute, she manages to dig her fingernails into the aunt's hand, and so the aunt is like, ouch, and she snatches away, and so Grace is able to snatch at the last minute, leading her to be daggered in the shoulder. She then jumps off the table with this yodel that's completely hers. When me and my aunt first watched this movie, we were like, that's a goat. That's a goat. That is not her yell. That's a goat. I think I saw an interview later where she was like, no, that's all me. That's all me. She also pulls the dagger or the knife from her shoulder and then just like holds out like, anybody coming near me is gonna get it. So the aunt is the first to realize that the sun is out, and they pull the curtain back, and there's fear, and they're like, oh, like vampires are all just against the sun. And then nothing. And then Emily's husband is like, I knew it was all bull crap. I knew it. But now we've attempted murder on this woman the whole night, so what do we do with her? And the aunt is like, I failed LaBelle once, and I'm not gonna fail him again. The bride still dies. So she goes, she has like a hatchet and or an axe or whatever, and she's gonna go take out Grace, but before she can really approach Grace, she implodes. Just completely just combusts. Just blood everywhere, just guts everywhere. And then the track begins, that loony hide and seek track begins to play, and one by one, they all go. Like, Charity is like, no, I take it back, I don't want to be a part of this family, I want to live, boom. Emily's husband is like, I think you are right, I don't think we should, and then boom, Emily and her kids run out into the hallway, so I guess so you don't see the implosion of like 2 children. The dad is like, no, I did everything right, I played the game, I'm the superior one, boom. And then there alone remains Alex. Now, as this is happening, Grace loses laughing. She's like, snorting and everything. And so, Grace is like, Alex is trying to talk himself out of it. He goes to, touch Grace, and Grace is like, don't touch me. And he's like, I don't want to die. And she's like, neither did I, you selfish piece of crap. And Alex is like, well, I'm not like them, he's not taking me, and you're why, and I love you, and I don't want to die. And again, she's like, neither did I, you selfish prick. He's like, I love you, he's not taking me. And Grace is like, you know what, Alex, she playing with the ring on her finger, she's like, you know what, Alex, I want a divorce. She throws the ring back at him, and he implodes. And that one is the one that gets like completely all over her face. Grace then very briefly sees LaBelle sitting at the head of the table before he goes up in flames, and she's like, oh crap. Ooh. And then she's exiting a burning house. All the family members who didn't play the game died in a burning house. And the cops show up, and they're like, ma'am, are you all right? What happened to you? And she's like, in-laws. And that's the movie. My thoughts. I don't even know what drew me to this movie, because again, as I said last week with The People Under the Stairs, horrors weren't really my thing, because most times the protagonists do stupid things that just can't be justified, as it wasn't here. But also, like, I, from a very young age, was watching Supernatural. Has always kind of intrigued me. Fantasy has always kind of intrigued me. Vampire Diaries, Supernatural, Moonlight. Like, I was watching a lot of Supernatural shows in my youth, so Supernatural intrigues me, fantasy intrigues me, but like not like voodoo and hoodoo and witchcraft for real, like Paranormal Activities, because the real stuff is stuff that inspired by true stories. Don't want it. things that could logically happen. Don't want it. But the fantasy side of it, I guess, as it was with here, I don't know. But again, actions that cannot be justified. Now, don't get me wrong, Grace rose to the occasion, but girl, come on, you missed so many opportunities. First off, again, the animals and guns on the wall would have made me uncomfy. Again, there might be a cultural difference, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, Grace takes a minute to look at the great grandfather's gun, but like she don't ask no questions about it. See, something in me would have asked if the ammo was real, if the gun was real, if the ammo was real. Like, also, whether or not you knew it was real or not, you should have cocked that stuff in the gaming room when you took it off the wall. Um, she was stupid for telling that servant that the family was looking for her because of the. Although I was like, oh, look at that karma. Of course, the servant would give you up, girl. She don't know what's happening. She want to stay alive. So of course, she would give you up. When Grace enters the kitchen, she does not grab the knives that are easily accessible on the counter. We arming ourselves, sis. Like, I know you went shock and all this stuff, but like, I'm sorry, that's just common sense. That's just common sense. When she goes outside, she's running in open space. Sometimes it can't be helped. They have a really big yard, but like, sometimes she's in the woods. Like, again, she got off the property and the dad managed to find her, and Daniel managed to find her very quickly. Like, where were you? Where were you? I'm just playing hide and seek in the woods for the rest of the night. I don't even have to be back in the house. Like, I'm up a tree hiding somewhere until I see the first peaks of daylight. Like, I mean, sometimes open space can't be helped, but other times she gets the car after strangling the butler, but not making sure he's dead. See me? We putting that car in reverse. Bloop, bloop. Then we putting that car in fast forward. Bloop, bloop. Like 4 times total. Like, and like common sense. And then use the star safe to call for help instead of driving on. Now, the car may be shut down, and the cops at the end were because she called. So, like, I guess it was helpful to call because the cops came. But also, like, how do you explain that? You could say they were trying to kill you, but like, you only had like 2 actual dead bodies, Daniel and the mom. If they didn't explode, you have a couple of servants' bodies. But everybody, you got blood dripping all down. Like, how do you explain that? Like, but I guess it was beneficial that the cops came. They took you away, and you're officially able to get off the property. But also, like, I just keep driving, keep driving. But again, I guess if they reported it stolen, the car would have been shut down anyway. So at the very least, now you have help on the way. But I don't know. Again, the pleading with Daniel in the woods. She pleads with him in the study. She pleads with him in the woods. She pleads with little Georgie. Stop pleading with these people. They are all the ops. They all ops. Like, every single one of them. Stop pleading with these people. Ignoring her fear of Alex. She naturally flinches back when Alex goes to touch her after he finds her standing over his mom. Like, keep your distance. I don't care if he was trying to help you at the start of it. He brought you here for selfish reasons because he didn't want you to leave. He could have, it would have been crazy, but he could have explained this to you. He could have been explaining this to you as to why he don't want to get married and why he wants to get married but officially can't. It would have been crazy, but no, he brought you here completely ignorant, completely unawares. Like, don't go near him. I don't care that he was unlocking the doors and that he was fighting. Like, don't go near him. Also, what made him turn? Was it Daniel's death, his mom's death, or the realization that Grace would leave? Because, like, he was choking out his daddy for Grace. He was telling his mom, if Grace dies, I'm taking you out. Like, what was it? What was it that made him I personally, I want to say it might have been his mom because he did seem to care about his mom and his brother. But I personally would say those take a little bit, just a little bit of a backseat to the realization that Grace was going to leave him. I think that the realization that she was scared of him and she was not going to stay is what made him turn. That's what I think. But like I said, Grace did rise to the occasion. She fought for her life and won, taking out the mom, knocking out Charity, getting the better of the butler. Like I said, I think he died in the car crash. When she falls in the pit, not gonna lie, I might have fainted. I mean, the shock of the night, getting shot in the hand, and then falling through the pit, yeah, I might have been knocked unconscious. that stench might have jerked me back awake, and then the nail in the hand might have been the adrenaline I needed. But I can't say I would have stayed conscious the whole night. I would have tried, because honestly, if I'm in a horror film, baby, if you gonna kill me, you gonna have to earn that death. Messing with me, you gonna have to earn that death. But I can also say, depending on how horrible the night is, I don't know if I would stay conscious that whole night, but I would try. Um, uh, the whole ordeal, honestly. And she also, the dagger to the shoulder and then pulled it out and jumped off the table and fought. Like, she rose to the occasion. Overall, an 8 out of 10. I think it balances out the gory blood and violence with the good comedic timing about how it's calling out how crazy the rich are. Again, I don't really know what drew me to this film, but I enjoyed it. It's something I could really watch over and over. I love this movie. It's just that sometimes it's like Grace, opportunities. We missed opportunities. Also, it's like, how did the dad get out there? Where were you? Were you still on the property when? I just questions. But overall, an 8 out of 10. With that, let us kick it into our last segment, PSA, where I give a little PSA and promoting safe driving, because as I've been driving more for work lately, I realized that a lot of people don't even know the basics of the road, and it pisses me off because one should always practice defensive driving, but also y'all just suck at driving. And that's not me saying that I'm the greatest. I have made my mistakes, but I know at least the basics and can handle a car. So PSA, when parallel parking, you want space between the car in front of you and the car behind you. Now, I hate parking on the road, but I had to park on the road the other day when I was going into a meeting, and the person pulled in. Luckily, I had a good strip of road that I could like not have to maneuver in between two cars. It was just the car behind me, and so I was just making sure I had enough space behind me. And then another car pulled in front of me, and again, there was still a good strip of space, but the way they were pulled in and then continuously backing up, we were about like that much space. And it's like, you want space. You want space between the car in front of you and the car behind you, so that if when you go to leave, you just, you have enough room to back up or to turn your wheel properly and get on up out of there. Luckily, I did have enough space behind me that if I had left before them, I could back up. Unluckily, by the time we actually got out of that meeting, because they were somebody that was in the meeting with me, it was another car behind me. It was a different car behind me, and they pulled up with too much space behind me. So now I'm stuck between these. We're all three SUVs, and I'm stuck in between these two, and I have to wait on the person in front of me. And they took a little time to pull off. So like, you want space. These should be basic rules. I know it's different where you live, but basic rules: you want space between the car in front of you and the car behind you, so that you can pull out accordingly. Also, be sure to signal properly. Whether you are changing lanes, whether you are turning, whether you are parallel parking into a spot, let the cars around you know what you're doing. Pull into that space properly and signal properly when you do it. And if you have no signal, I believe, now I know, road rage, so you don't really want to be sticking your hands out the window, but I believe you're turning left, you stick your left hand out the window straight, you're turning right, you pull it up in a 90-degree angle. So let people know it's not hard. I get the whole idea, you're scared of road rage. I myself, this person was pulling ever so close to me. I'm not a honker because road rage, I know people have road rage, but they were really close and my hand was hovering over that horn. Like, space in between you, in front of you and behind you, so that you can pull in, pull out accordingly. You're not too close. You have space to act accordingly as you go about your driving experience. Just a quick little PSA from Kaya's commentary promoting safe driving. Hopefully that's helpful. With that is Kaya's commentary. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you like this episode, hit the thumbs up, leave comments down below. Let me know your opinions on any of the segments that I had. Be respectful. We can have a conversation with one another, but only if we are respectful. Don't forget to follow me on all my socials. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you next time.